Our top story tonight, a seasoned unionist, politician, negotiator and businessman, but arguably one of the most challenging days in Cyril Ramaphosa's illustrious career. The Deputy President took to the stand at the Farlam Commission probing the 2012 Marikana shooting in his capacity as the then non-executive director of platinum producer Lonmin, and he was literally in the hot seat. Confronted, challenged, implicated, even loudly heckled, Ramaphosa defended his intervention prior to the shooting, saying that he was trying to prevent further loss of life. Members of the Marikana Solidarity Campaign disrupted proceedings, shouting "blood on his hands, sellout and liar." Judge Ian Farlam had to briefly adjourn proceedings under cross-examination. Ramaphosa was accused of acting with Lonmin to characterize the strike as a criminal act, so that the platinum producer did not have to negotiate with the strikers. Correspondence between Ramaphosa and Lonmin's chief commercial officer took center stage. In one email, Ramaphosa said that concomitant action was needed to address dastardly criminal actions by wildcat strikers, adding that he would contact cabinet ministers. Ramaphosa denied that he had influenced the then police minister Natim Tetwa on what steps to take during the strike. Well, joining us now in studio to talk about the commission is our contributing editor, Vuya Mvoko. Vuya, thank you very much for joining us. Well, this was, I guess, one of the most anticipated appearances at the commission, Deputy President, and perhaps maybe a key figure at the time. Did it live up to all the hype?
Well, it did, I think, to some extent, not to a very large extent, but remember, it's still continuing tomorrow. But today, obviously, I mean, he started, and then his evidence in chief was put before the commission, and of course, taking center stage were those emails. And the point, I mean, his own narrative is that all he did was what any other person would have done under those circumstances, and that was to make sure that everyone does their bit. Government plays its part, law enforcement agencies do what they are supposed to do, the Minister of Mineral Resources does what she is supposed to do, and everybody else. Of course, that continued up until you had the lawyers from the Legal Resources Center who were then trying to change all that to say the reason, which from what you read earlier, the reason you wanted to sort of criminalize what was a legitimate worker struggle was simply because you had failed in your own right to do what you are supposed to do. As someone who has that background, that mining worker leader background, as someone who knows, who's a seasoned politician, who knows, what to do in times of conflict, but also as a director where you have fiduciary duties, you could have done a lot better than you did. I think that's where they were basically leading him. And then, add to that a little later, Dumisa Ntsebeza, who was then saying, as a seasoned negotiator, look at this country, look where we are 20 years on. It is because of people like you. In fact, you were at the forefront. You are one of the people who are single, who people look up to and say, we are here because Cyril Ramaphosa and others put us where we are. But at a crucial time when Lonmin needed you, a seasoned negotiator like you, or someone to play that leadership role, you were simply not there. Whether, of course, that is going to stick at the end of the day is another matter altogether. How
did he negotiate his way around accusations that he perhaps put undue influence, political influence to former police?
Well, he dismisses it, I mean, of course, which he has done consistently over the past couple of years. He says the reason he did that was because there was loss of lives. And it was brutal. Some of these people were their limbs were cut and so on, and many more people had been injured. It had to stop. And he was saying there was no evidence. You probably had the mention of cool heads in one of the his conversations with them. Was saying to the acting head of Lonmin at the time that in spite of everything that's going on, or in what we do, we should remember to keep our cool heads, which to someone suggests a sign of maturity, but also of, he kept his cool, even though the circumstances were trying. But obviously, to the legal representatives of the victims and survivors, and everyone who doesn't buy his story, he remains the villain. To them, he sacrificed the lives of workers at the altar of prophets.
And they let him know about it. How did he react to the heckling and the negativity, for want of a better word?
Look, he is cool, he's calm, he has that infectious smile, so that never changes. It didn't change even at a time when there was a lot of that heckling, people saying he had blood in his hands, he must resign even as the deputy president of the country. He kept his cool. Even afterwards, when everyone was called back, proceedings resumed, he was still the Cyril Ramaphosa he was. I think he has held his own by and large. There were moments, and I think, in spite of what comes out of this at the end of it all, I think by and large, unless of course they really do, but so far, from what the lawyers who were cross-examining him did today, my view is that they didn't go far enough to actually nail him. Well, of course, there's someone who's still coming up tomorrow in the name of Dalimpofu, who, if his cross-examinations of people like Ria Pierre is anything to go by, may just do the trick. But
so all eyes on the commission again tomorrow. We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed, Vuyam Voko, our contributing editor.